2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn the beat back.
Hello YouTube, this is QB999 with
the Kingpin of Cinema.
We're here with another Magic set review. This time, last Friday, they came out with a new dual decks, Knights versus Dragons, and we're each going to go over one. I will be taking you through the Dragons deck, whereas the Kingpin will be going over the Knight deck, and then we'll be giving up our opinions on each, and if it was really worth the purchase. First off, with the Dragon deck, go over the creatures really quick. Got a Cinderwall here, 3/3 defender that dies instantly at the end of the combat. Really, I don't care much for that kind of ability. It's a 3/3 for 1, but if it's going to die instantly, not much use for it, really, for me. This deck mostly encompasses, of course, dragons and goblins, so you got a guy that gives you a little mana acceleration. Why they only give you one, though? Got a Changeling, of course. Can have any kind of creature deck without a Changeling. This one mostly because of its fire breathing. This guy is actually a good one that gives all red creatures first strike. That's a pretty good advantage for any deck.
Insanely good.
You got the Torch Runners here that, like any goblin, does things when they die. Dealing 3 damage to a creature or player. Got a Random Elemental thrown in here with Flash. Basically, he's just meant to buff creatures, I believe. Of course, you got the awesome Goblin token. You know, nothing can really beat that. Now for the main event, mostly, is the Dragons. Do you get good dragons in this set? You got the Shivan Hellkite. It's just a 7-costing dragon with fire breathing that costs 2. As far as dragons go, I'd say that's kind of the lower run, but still a decent dragon. Killmouth. Now, this is one you really want. If you have a handful of dragons and he comes into play, he's going to be devastating. The only thing that can really affect him after that is just direct creature disposal, which the Knights don't really have a whole lot of. Advantage goes to Killmouth. Got Mordant Dragon, which I haven't seen him before. Again, you have the double fire breathing power. But, his other ability, whenever Mordant Dragon deals combat damage to a player, have it deal damage to target creature they control. So you're dealing double damage. Voracious Dragon, they actually put a Devoured Dragon in here. You know what, that works well with all the goblins you have, especially when they have to die for their abilities to go off. You got a Henge Guardian, artifact dragon that can get trample for 2 mana, but when it has only 3 power, I don't see trample being all that great. Not unless you buff him up using some of the other cards here.
I find it odd that he's in there.
Now, this isn't actually a dragon card, but he makes all dragons cost 2 less, so he's with the dragons. This is a must-have for a dragon deck. Should have put more in here. Got Dragon Whelp, you know, little dragon that can fire breathe up to, what is it?
3.
4 times, or else it kills itself. It's just a baby.
It's just a baby.
This is the big dragon for this set, apparently, because it's the only holographic. It's Bogardan Hellkite. Its big ability I can see is Flash, and then dealing 5 damage on however many shit you want. 5 damage, all around.
All around.
Well, not all around, but spread up as you choose. So, potentially, get rid of 5 creatures. Yeah. Or at least one big one. As for the spells, you got a Seething Psalm, another pretty good mana excel. You get 2 extra mana for paying 3. Kind of wish they put a couple more in there. You got Seismic Strike, which is basically the same as Jaws of Stone, but I don't think quite as good. Because Jaws of Stone can attack both creatures and players. And also, I think you can with Jaws of Stone, you can also split up the damage too.
Yeah, I believe you can.
Yeah. Got Claws of Valakut, which is just a buffer for each mountain you have. Temporary Insanity, it's basically a treason card, but not as good. It costs one more. And it also has a penalty for it too. You can only use it under certain conditions.
Correct.
Got Shiv's Embrace, your basic fire-breathing enchantment that also gives you a boost in flying. So pretty good.
And fire breathing.
Cone of Flame, as we all know, is a spell from Dragon Age. Just deals 1 damage to a creature, then 2 damage, and then 3. Then we got Fiery Fall, 5 damage to a creature, or you can land cycle it. Land cycling, always a good ability to have.
Definitely.
Then we saw Jaws of Stone. Another dragon we have here is Thunder Dragon. When he enters the damage, anything without flying is going to take 3 damage. Anything without flying.
That's good.
Let's see, you got a couple armillary spheres here for getting more land. Dragon's Claw, of course, you gotta have a Dragon's Claw to gain that life. Breath of Daragaz, deals 1 damage to each creature or 4 damage, whether you kick it or not. Dragon Fodder, gotta love that card. Although it really only works well with a lot of Devour creatures, and in this deck you only have 1.
Well, you got the Goblin that you sack a Goblin for 1 red mana.
Yeah.
So that still kind of works.
And then you got Punishing Fire, 2 damage to each target creature or player, and then you can get it back repeatedly if someone gains life. Got Spitting Earth, which is, again, kind of like Jaws of Stone, but not as varied. Got Captive Flame, which is just fire-breathing enchantment. And then finally, Ghost Fire, which is a weird kind of spell to have in here. It's a burn spell that's apparently colorless. We think that's from the,
Either Zendikar or to the next set.
Yeah. So anyway, here, has something off to show off the Night deck.
Alright, Kingpin of Cinema here, and I'm going to be showing you the cards you get in the Night section of the 2-pack. We have Knight of the Reclairy. Gets +1/+1 for each land card in your graveyard. You can sacrifice a forest or plains, search your library for a land card, and put it into the battlefield, and then shuffle it. He's okay. Caravan Escort, a level up. Basically, he ultimately levels up to a 5/5 first strike. Lionheart Maverick, Vigilance, 1/1 for 1. And for 5 mana, it gets +1/+2, so a built-in Holy Strength. And for 1, not too bad. Knight, Cliffhaven, a Core Knight, another level up. Ultimately, you're leveling up to a 4/4 Flying Vigilance. Freaking Kithkins, First Strike Lifelink, well, he's actually pretty good for 2 mana. Lowen Skyhunter for 2, a Flying, 2/2 creature, that's pretty good. Silver Knight, First Strike Protection from Red. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'd say that's pretty good for here. Then we got a Knight of the White Orchid. First strike. Enters the battlefield if an opponent controls more lands than you. You may search your library for a plains card and put it on the battlefield. He's okay. White Knight, protection from black, which I'm sure, as you know, is going to come in handy with all the black creatures over here. Moving on. We got a Paladin, another human knight. Attacks, it gets +1/+1 to end a turn for each untapped creature you control. So kind of a idea of Exalted in a way, but a little bit better. Steward of the Valrun, Vigilance, and he taps for 1 green mana. So he's got a Lana Warrior ability built in, except he's a little bit better. Vanellish Lancer. This guy is early good to mid-game good. Basically, with this kicker cost, you get +2/+2 and first strike, but normally it comes out as a 2/2. So if you got 3, you got a 2/2. If you have 6, you got a 4/4 first strike. Zalfarn Commander, flanking, good old flanking, and he can give a knight +1/+1 till end of turn. Now this is the one you really need for this set. Knight Exemplar, first strike, buffs old knights with 1/1 and makes them all indestructible. I love this card. This is definitely one of the cards to have You definitely, not only do you need it, but it's just great to have. Wiltleaf Cavaliers, Vigilance 3/4, kind of boring. And this guy is really good. When you fully level him up, all creatures get +2/+2. Kissenbull Cavalier. Night creatures you control have double strike. So, another lord that you need. This guy, whenever he attacks, tap target creature. Sky Hunter Patrol, flying first strike for 4, pretty good. Pulavar Knights, flying first strike for 5. Order Ranger, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and a +1/+1 counter on him. So, play a creature, 1/1, and he gets 1/1. So, this guy can get pretty big. Paladin of Prov, deals combat damage, you gain that much life, so lifelink. I don't know why I couldn't just put lifelink on there, but whatever. Then he's got Forecast, and I don't care about Forecast because it sucked. Harm's Way, now these are for the spells. Next to damage that would be dealt to you and where permanents you control this turn is dealt to another creature instead, so a reversal. This card basically kills a creature that does damage to you. Edge of Autumn. If you control fewer lands than your opponent, then you get a land. Mighty Leap. Target creature gets +2/+2 and flying tone a turn. Reprisal. Yeah, this guy's holding a dragon head. This guy's awesome. He just slew a dragon. Well, target creature of 4 or greater and it can't be regenerated. Instantly destroys. Test of Faith. Prevents damage, and you put +1/+1 counters on a creature for each damage prevented that way. Heroes Reunion, gain 7 life. Sigil of Blessing, to end of turn, target creature you control gets +3/+3, and other creatures get +1/+1. Luxodon Warhammer. I love the new picture art for this card. If you don't know what it does, it gives a creature +3/+0, trample, and lifelink, and equips for 3. And they made it into a rare.
It's been switched around so many times. The very first set it came out, it was a rare. Then in 10th edition, it was an uncommon, I think. And now it's a rare again.
No, in the very first set that it came out was Meridian. It was uncommon.
That's right, and then it became a rare.
Yeah, then it became a rare, then an uncommon, and now it's back to being a rare. I don't know what the deal is with that, but whatever. Now this is the other card I really wanted in this set. Spider Silk Armor.
That card was worth the whole set.
It was, for me, totally worth the entire set. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have reach. And that is great. And Griffin Guide. Basically, it gives a creature +2/+2 flying. And when it's put into a graveyard, I get a 2/2 Griffin token. I am dropping cards on the ground. And the last card is the new artwork for an Oblivion Ring. So, that's the Knight deck and the Dragon deck. Well, anyhow, that was our... what you get for the Knight and Soldier decks.
Now, overall, we would have to say we think the Knights got the better end of the deal on this one.
Yeah, because the Knights is a lot more focused. You have lifelink. You have a lot of spells that buff up your Knights. And I think once you get the one Knight out that gives them all indestructible, then...
it's kind of over.
In a way, it's kind of over for the Dragons.
The only real big advantage I can see for the Dragons is a lot more flying.
But once you get the Spider Silk Armor out and the indestructible combination...
then it's kind of done.
Then, yeah, the Dragons are kind of done.
Because then the Dragons... then their only way around that is to really go around the defenses, which there's not a whole lot of ways you can do that. There's no real... like, the Knights have remove creature from game and spells like that, whereas the Dragons really only have direct damage. Where if the creatures are indestructible, then your only real chance is to go after the player themselves.
Yeah.
But then the Knights also have lifelink, too, which also poses a problem. So it's like, the Knights are equipped to deal with any problem the Dragon deck can bring up.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like the Dragon deck could have used a few more cards in it that would have made them quicker or buffed them up a bit more. Like Cauldron of Fire would have really made that one really good.
I would have thought the Dragon deck would have been better going with more than one color, more than just red, because especially with Jund, there's lots of really good dragons in that deck alone.
Yeah, definitely.
Mixed in with some of these dragons, that could have been a really formidable deck. And also, there were the dragons, too, that we got from the Coalition pack, too. The legendary dragons from that one. There were a lot of dragons they didn't really use, and the dragons in this deck are not very varied.
Yeah.
And there's basically, all the dragons are basically the same, where they're 5/5 or 6/6 flying with fire breathing.
Yeah, and no Shivan Dragon. What? I thought that one would have been pretty guaranteed.
Well, actually, I think it was in it.
No, it had Shivan Hellkite.
Oh, that's right. All right.
It didn't have Shivan Dragon, but whatever.
Overall, definitely in the Knights deck, though, you get some good stuff. You get a Luxodon Warhammer. You get a Spider Silk Armor, which is a really good green defensive card.
Yeah, that one's insane. Is great.
You
I'm
get
glad we got it.
You get a really good Night Lord, which also was kind of missing from the Dragon deck. I don't even know if dragons have a Lord.
I don't think they do. I know there's one that does buff them up, but you have to pay mana.
Okay.
To give them like +1/+0. I could be wrong. I have a lot of dragons, but I don't want to feel like busting out my folder and looking at it.
Still, anyway, so definitely the Knight deck. Really, it was worth it.
Well, like Cauldron of Fire would have been a good example, because it gives all dragons +3/+3.
Yeah, and that was also a red card, so you could have gotten that card too.
They could easily put that
so
card in.
The Dragon deck, it's decent, but I definitely think there were some cards that could have really made it a lot better and more on par with the Knights deck.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Knight deck, I would say this one is pretty usable right out of the box. The Dragon deck, you might want to just cannibalize and use for other decks.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to do. I'm going to cannibalize the Dragon deck for the Dragon deck I currently have in the building process. And I think I am going to make it a full-on Knight deck. So I'm going to add a lot more cards to this and maybe take out some of the multicolored aspect of it. Because it seemed just full-on white worked just fine.
Yeah, I think it should have been opposite. This one should have been the mono white. And this one could have gone with maybe 2 or 3 colors.
Yeah.
Because the dragons, I know red is the dominant dragon type, but especially since Alara, and even the older card sets, dragons have gone across all colors of Magic.
Yeah, there's a dragon in every color of Magic. Even green has 2. Has two green dragons.
Like I said, it just comes down to it just needed more colors and more dragons in it that were more varied, especially from Jund, because I love Jund.
Yeah.
You have the dragon that lets you gain control of all dragons and gives them all haste. That would have been good. And even maybe just one Overlord in here. Just one Overlord.
Well, I think just the Overlord and the Cauldron of Fire and make it Jund colors, because then you can use the Jund charms to hit your opponent's hand and do indirect damage to them.
So really, instead of really using, just cannibalize this into a Jund deck.
Yeah. So overall,
$20 for 2 decks, you get some decent cards, some decent rares, especially in the Knight deck. I would say it's worth it.
Yeah, this is definitely worth picking up.
Sad part is some of the good cards in it though, they only give you 1 of each, which is kind of sad, but...
Unless you want to drop $40 and get 2.
Which I'm sure there are people that are willing to do that, but
well, that's what happened with the Angel and Demon dual pack, because people were going out and buying 4, because they wanted 4 copies of each Angel. Just for the Angels, nobody really cared about the Demons.
Another deck. So, these dual decks, so far, a lot of them have seemed to be very one-sided. Like you said, with the...
Angel one
and Demon, it was one-sided for the Angels. The Coalition versus the Phyrexian, it seemed very towards the...
Phyrexian.
Actually, I thought the Coalition one was better.
I thought the Phyrexian was better because he had the Phyrexian Colossus, and he could have puppet strings untap it, so you didn't have to sack anything for it.
That's right. So, really, I do think they need to work on these dual decks a little bit, as well as balance between the two. But otherwise, I think there's still an interesting idea, a way of getting those creature types that don't see a whole lot of action out there more, like Knights. We haven't seen a whole lot done with Knights.
I'm happy that we got a Knight deck, because I can't wait to make a full-on Knight deck.
We like how they come in their own little deck boxes, although they're a little small. So if you want to build a bigger deck, you have to kind of get your own box then.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'd say worth it for $20, $10 a box. Some card shops are doing it so that you can buy separately.
Yeah.
Depending on what's going on. So anyway, really like it. Definitely, I would recommend this one.
Some other news, just to go over real quick. They the next.
Oh yeah, they announced that
the next 2-pack is going to be a Johnny versus Nicobolas.
Oh yeah, so that one's. It looks like it's going to be a Naya versus Grixis deck build.
So that one.
So yeah, so they announced the next dual deck, which is Nicobolas and a Johnny.
And the next Magic the Gathering set
has been announced. Its name has been announced as New Phyrexia, which I don't really think bodes well for the Mirrodins.
Yeah, I think Mirrodin is looking pretty bleak at the moment.
And from what I can tell on the Magic site, it's going to be kind of like what they did with Lorwyn and Eventide, where each set is only going to have, or each block is only going to have two sets each, but they're both going to be connected in a way. So we've done the war with Mirrodin and Phyrexia, and now I think it's going to be into another block that's still kind of connected with this one.
We'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
So when we get more information, we'll announce it. And as always, thanks for listening in.
Well, and also,
you had something else to add?
Yeah, we've been working on some new decks that we'll probably be showing off soon. I have a new deck based off just enchantments. It's a white deck with enchantments. I think it works out pretty well. I will have to test it still, but I'll be showing off that one. I also made a Battle Cry deck using the new cards, which I finally got around to doing. So we'll see how that one works.
And I made a Zombie Infect deck, which actually works pretty well, so I'll be showing off that one.
So anyway, so I think that's all the news that's coming out so far.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Kingpin of Cinema.
And QB999.
And
welcome with the Magic Hour saying thanks for watching.
Yep, have a good day.